Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another delicious episode of the Learn True Health podcast. That's right, this is the delicious episode because today we have with us an expert in juicing, juicing detox, juicing cleanses, and juicing to beat cancer. I first heard about Cherie Calbom from The Truth About Cancer. That's Ty Bollinger's documentary series, The Truth About Cancer. I know I've been talking a lot about it lately. That's because Ty Bollinger's doing a special right now where you can watch the entire documentary series for free. So please visit learntruehealth.com/cancer. That's learntruehealth.com/cancer. Check it out. Cherie shares amazing things in the documentary series, and also, of course, amazing things today on our episode with her. We talk about helping to support the body in success and in beating disease and in healing and in detox. She has a very interesting story about how her body expelled what looked like a tumor after doing a short juice detox. So, you definitely want to talk to your doctor and work with a physician, work with a holistic physician when doing long detoxes and long juice fasts. It's not something I recommend that you do alone because complications can come up. Something that came up for me once, I drank too much beet juice. I didn't know the side effects of drinking too much beet juice. I just thought, hey, it's a vegetable, it's safe. And I ended up having flu-like symptoms, and I thought maybe I got food poisoning because, this is raw juice after all. And so it was quite a negative experience. And if I hadn't continued to learn from holistic health practitioners, I might have given up on juicing altogether. So just know that it's best to learn from experts like Cherie, who we have here today, and also make sure you work with your holistic healthcare practitioner when you do those more intense juice fasts. But if you want to get more vegetables and phytonutrients into your life, get more greens into your life, then juicing is a great way to augment. And Cherie shares her wonderful recipes with us today on the show as well. Please visit learntruehealth.com/cancer. That's learntruehealth.com/cancer. And for free, add your name and email address in there, and you can watch the documentary series for a limited time that Ty Bollinger has created with over 130 experts in how to heal, prevent, and restore the body from disease like cancer. Thank you so much. And please share this episode if you have a friend who wants to get healthy or wants to feel better. The juicing episode is definitely a great one to share with your loved ones. Please share and spread this information. Let's help all of our friends and family get healthy together. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 151. I am beside myself excited for today's guest. If you have ever wanted to learn about juicing or ever juiced yourself or seen or heard of those people who've, completely transformed their life, lost 5 million pounds, reversed, they looked like they were 60 and now they look like they're 20. These are miracle stories from juicing. It's all true. And our guest here today is the expert, the absolute expert in how to help our body heal and detox using juice. It is the juice lady, Cherie Calbom. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show. You have such an extensive background and you are the expert. And I love when I read your bio that you've even been hired by the royal family of the UAE. I thought that was so cool that out of all the juice experts out there that you were picked as the best of the best. And I love your work. I think it's a wonderful, especially your work around, I learned about you through The Truth About Cancer and was so inspired because when we're struck with the diagnosis of cancer, we're struck with fear, right? We feel helpless and hopeless. And the whole point of the Truth About Cancer series was to arm us with the strength and the knowledge and all these different things that we can do so that we can help our body heal and even prevent disease. And if we have disease, we can nourish our body and help our body do the best it can do, set ourselves up for the most success we can possibly have. And I love that you do that and teach that through the power of juicing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashley. It's so great to be part of your show, to talk about my favorite subject, which is juicing.
I bet we could talk all day long about juicing.
Oh, we could, because everything you said is true. Anything anybody says just about is true, and people just find it hard to even believe until they try it themselves.
Now I want to get into, and we're going to get into some of those hard-hitting questions like aren't you hungry on a juice fast? How could you possibly do that? And don't you need protein and all those other questions? And isn't juicing just a bunch of carbs and all those questions that I'm sure people have who might not be experts in juicing? I definitely want to address all those more controversial questions. But first, I'd love for you to share your story, because I know you have a beautiful story. What led you to be inspired to become the juice lady?
Way back in my 20s, I got chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. Such a bad case that I had to quit work and move back home and sleep and sleep. 12 hours a day I'd sleep and get up tired and drag around or crawl around and feel like my life was over. I felt like I had the flu all the time, which is just disgusting to even think about it now, and no energy, and I ached all over, and life did not seem like it was even worth living. And I was only 20 something, and I thought, this is ridiculous. If I keep on like this, I'll be dead before I'm 30 something. So I have to find a way out of this. Something got me here, something's going to get me out. And I went looking at health food stores and talking with people. There was very little on juicing then. There was an old Norman Walker book that I think had been written maybe in the 30s or 40s. And I learned, though, about juicing, and that my diet was all wrong. I did not like vegetables. I loved sweets. I liked junk food and fast food. My mother had died of breast cancer when I was 6 years old, and I was truly following in her footsteps. I was eating like she ate, and I was sick, and I decided I better change my ways totally. When I heard about juicing, I got my first juicer, and I decided I would go on a 5-day juice fast. And on day number 5, my body expelled a tumor the size of a golf ball with blue blood vessels attached to it. I
Oh
went,
my
oh my
gosh.
gosh. That's what I said. I was flabbergasted. Like, how could this even happen? Where did this come from? And obviously, it must have been in my colon, is what I surmise. So, knowing nothing, though, I just got rid of it. I did not save it. So people have asked me for years, was that a polyp or was that cancerous? I don't know. I'm so glad I'm rid of it. And um, so after that, I thought, my life is going to totally change. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow and feel like I'm a new person. I didn't. I had some days that were worse, days that were better. And I had ups and downs with how I felt. And what nobody was talking about back then was the detoxification symptoms that you can get when you cleanse, when you do juice fasting, and going on a really clean diet. So after my 5 days of juice fasting, I did continue to drink vegetable juices, but I also ate a lot of vegetables and some brown rice. I went vegan for that summer, lots of salads, and some mini or short juice fasts of a couple of days here and there. And it took me 3 months. But one day I woke up and thought, wow, somebody gave me a new body in the middle of the night. I felt like a brand new person. And whereas before I could not even go for a walk around the block because I was so weak and tired, I thought I might faint somewhere out there and be lying on the sidewalk. I wanted to go jogging that morning. I had that much energy that I just couldn't sit still. And that was like a miracle to me. I had not remembered feeling like that, even as a child. So I knew I was really onto something. I wanted to know more about detox and what that meant later when I had gone back to school and started working on my master's in whole foods nutrition. I wanted to know more about detoxification and what that means and how that helped so much to heal my body. But there's one more part to my story that I'll tell you, and juicing comes into this as well. A year later, after I'd gone back to Southern California and decided I would go back to school, and I was house sitting that summer for some friends of our family. Burglars broke in, teenage burglars, in the middle of the night, and one lost all sense and decided he was going to kill me and told me so and beat me with a pipe, and then choked me until I felt my spirit leave my body. So I came back obviously, but I had huge, extensive injuries and devastation, complete devastation to my body. Talk about adrenal fatigue. My adrenals were like burned out, totally shot in at death's door. It seemed like I had just no energy at all. But I knew the journey. I'd already been on one healing journey, and I thought, if I can do this once, I can do it again. And so, even though my right hand was severely injured and in a cast, I managed to juice, and I juiced every day, and with my left hand, and with a little help, and did a perfect diet, not cheating once. And so, I have some miracle things that juice or no diet or no remedy in earth could have healed, but I have things that it was my responsibility to do my part. And that's what I always talk about, that our bodies are made to heal. We were designed for healing, but we must do our part. And there's a lot of people who just want somebody to do it for them. You know, just give me a pill or this treatment or this or that. Just do it for me. And we must do our part. And our part is big and important. And that's where juicing comes in, because it's broken down so well. That it's like a pre-digested food, and it gets right into your body within about 30 minutes. It's going to work in your system. Those nutrients are getting right into your cells. And if you have poor digestion or you're not assimilating things well, and that's a lot of people in America, that juice gets right in, even with very, very poor digestive systems, and goes to work for healing. So there's my story. And twice, not once, but twice, I have recovered from absolutely devastating things. And juice has been a huge, huge part of my journey of recovery both times.
Wow, amazing. I'm sad that you had to go through the negative experience, but as we learn, as we take responsibility for our life, and there's this sort of a belief system that when we look at all the bad things, like when we've been a victim in our life and we go, okay, not that this is the truth, but if I am 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life, then, what am I choosing here, and what was there to learn here, and looking for the positive learnings that we can gain. So you looked inward, and you saw that you are strong and that you can heal, and you've gained so many positive learnings out of that negative experience. You know, I can hear in your voice, you're no longer a victim of it. You know that you were given that experience so you could see how strong you are, and then you can go on to teach others that they too are strong and they too can heal. So I love that you have that it's not just what we're physically putting in our body, although juice is this wonderful liquid nutrition, like you said, pre-digested. And there's so much science now. They're finally seeing all the science behind why juicing is so powerful. but you also have that spiritual and emotional, mental element that you know that it takes more than just what you're putting in your body. It takes the attitude of healing to support the body and health. So I love that your message, that you bring that with you. So we've got this problem. Why we've got people like I just on my last interview, we were talking about how 70% of the adult population's on at least one prescription medication in the United States, and I know that many other countries are following suit. We have this epidemic where people are filling their bodies up with toxins. Medications will clog up the liver, even over-the-counter medications. You can go to Costco and buy a bulk-sized cough syrup that if you were to take that amount of cough syrup in 2 or 3 days, it could kill you. That's the amount of acetaminophen that it takes to shut the body down and kill you. So over the counter, we have enough drugs to clog our liver and kill us. You know, what's in our food, what's in the air. Toxins are everywhere. Back when we were kids, life was not like this. We're living in the most polluted, most toxic environment. And now the symptoms are coming out, having headaches, we're fatigued. People are having more and more autoimmune conditions. Children are having more and more childhood cancers. It's really, really sad. 1 in 2 women statistically in the United States will develop cancer. 1 in 3 men statistically will develop cancer. These statistics are ridiculous. So this problem that we're up against, and your solution, which is so smart, which is bringing the body back into helping the body just get as much nutrition in as it can, obviously through juicing and detoxing. But let's talk about this problem. What are some of the symptoms that we should be aware of to know that what we really need to do is we need to turn to detoxing?
Yes, I love going over these. I'm looking right now at my list of liver symptoms of a toxic liver, but many of these symptoms carry over for a toxic colon, gallbladder, and even blood. So toxins spread throughout our body. So it isn't just our liver or our colon or our blood or our lymphatic system, they're everywhere. And when we detox, well, we notice improvements everywhere. So, brain fog is one that I wanted to kick off with because that is one that so many people complain to me about. And it's one of the first things to leave. And people go, wow, oh, wow, after 3 or 4 days on your detox program, and my mind is getting clearer and I can think more clearly. But mood changes, depression are often, not always, but often associated with a toxic body and not getting the nutrients, of course, that we need, and getting too much of what the body doesn't want, like sugar. Poor digestion, bloating, gas, weight gain, cellulite. I want to just stop for a minute on cellulite. I have had so many women on my detox program. I have a 30-day detox that I run every month. It starts the second Tuesday of every month. And so I get tons of people with their stories. And I had one young woman say, it was like 3 weeks into, I think it was 3 or 2.5 into the detox program. Here comes her email. Wow, oh, wow, just wow. All my cellulite is gone. She said, I haven't even been exercising because I was detoxing and I was kind of tired and I didn't feel like exercising. And lo and behold, with the detox, my cellulite is gone. So that is another symptom of toxicity. It's a trap of that bumpy skin is a trap of toxins and water and fat cells. Constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, a coated tongue or bad breath. That can be colon, it can be liver, it can be yeast and overgrowth of candidiasis or all of the above. Allergic conditions like hay fever, hives, skin rashes, asthma. Now, there are other things that come into play, but detoxing can greatly help all of this. And I can say right now, the pollen is really blowing where I live, but I don't have any symptoms. Lots of people are sneezing and have all sorts of problems. I don't have any symptoms, so it's not bothering me. Whereas in the past, it has bothered me. Headaches, migraines, hormonal headaches, cluster headaches, pain in the eyes, vision problems. fluid retention, swollen legs, feet, ankles, high blood pressure, hypoglycemia, blood sugar instability, inability to tolerate fatty foods, nausea, abdominal pains, acid reflux, fatigue, chronic fatigue. And that's what I had, the story I just told. Back pain, brown spots on the skin, often called age spots, bursitis, cancer. Many cancers can be attributed to toxins, and get those toxins out of your body. No matter what you do for cancer treatment, you must detox, and you must provide your body with superior nutrition. There are many other options. We've talked about the truth about cancer. And if you see that 9 DVD series, many options of things that have worked for people. But I see two common threads that run through everything. You must detox, and you must provide your body with superior nutrition. And all of the people in those DVDs that recovered, everyone changed their diet. You'll hear
Mm-hmm.
that. And almost everyone juiced. At least they went on the rainbow diet and with lots of bright colored fruits and vegetables. But most of those people did juice. So, immune system, if your immune system is weak and you are getting symptoms, colds, flus, sinus infections, things like that continually, you've got a weakened immune system, and you need to do some detoxing. Insomnia, sleep disorders, kidney problems, weight gain, not being able to lose weight easily. That can be a sign of toxins in the fat cells, and your body is not going to let go of those fat cells until you provide a lot of antioxidants so they can bind to the toxins and carry them out, and they won't damage your delicate organs and tissues. And bright red spots on the skin or body called cherry angiomas. Thin stools are another sign. So I could go on and on, but that's quite a list of problems, and it hits where most Americans would say, yeah, I've experienced a few of those myself. And lots of people say to me, just what you did, Ashley. I thought it was normal. I thought, I just had to live with a sinus issue or some sleep problems or whatever.
Or my doctor told me that asthma is genetic, so I have to have it because it's genetic, right? Or
Mhm.
allergies. I've just had allergies my whole life, so that's just normal. We we're supposed to take the over the counter allergy medicine or my prescription allergy medicine because we're humans, we get allergies, and we've bought into this idea that these symptoms are normal. I can't believe how many people I've met people who get injections. I asked someone the other day, they're over at my house, and I have a cat, and I'm like, oh, are you okay with cats? And she goes, actually, I'm really allergic to cats, but it's okay. I go once a month to my doctor, and he gives me an injection, and that suppresses all my allergies, and so I should be fine. And I didn't want to come across as judgmental, but I started asking her, like, what's going on with your life and with your health that has you feel the need to get an injection to suppress your immune system's response. Like, maybe there's something going on, right? Why is our body expressing these symptoms? And I've met people who have gone from eating the standard American diet or standard Canadian diet, same thing, lots of wheat, lots of grains, lots of processed foods and sugars, lots of fast food, and then they switched over to a whole foods diet, and they took supplements, juiced, did things that nourished the body, and then all of a sudden one day they woke up and realized they didn't need to take their medications anymore. They woke up during heavy pollen season and nothing, and they just I've over and over again I've heard that, and I've also met people who no longer have asthma because they shifted their food, and yet their doctor said they had to be on this drug for the rest of their life. And the doctor said, no, does not in any way influence asthma or diabetes, or there's doctors out there say you have to be on this drug. I'm sorry, you can't heal your body. And it just blows my mind that the doctors are telling their patients that they need a drug, but they don't need a whole foods diet, or they don't need juicing. Isn't that
Yes,
amazing?
truly amazing. I hear those stories all the time, probably every day of my life. Somebody will email me with something like that. But so many people say to me why they've contacted me, but the drugs aren't working or they're making me feel worse. That's why I've contacted you. I'll hear that story over and over again. I want to just add on, piggyback on one thing you said about how we're told this runs in your family and you will always have it. And my dad told me that about sinus problems, that it ran in our family and it's something you'll always have and have to battle with. And of course, I had them for a good portion of my life. But when I did my first liver cleanse, my sinuses started draining and they drained for about 2.5 weeks. And then I felt like this clear, pure air was going up into my sinuses and into my head like I'd never felt in my life. It felt wonderful. And then I did a parasite cleanse, and you should usually do that with a liver cleanse, but it took me a while to learn about the parasite cleansing. And when I did the parasite cleanse, I never had another sinus issue. I haven't had one since. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. Now, which one of your books or programs teaches about the parasite cleanse?
Oh, I've got a whole program. I've got two things. My book, Juicing, Fasting, and Detoxing for Life, covers it a little bit, but not as much as my 30-day detox program that I run online in lesson two. Covers that much more. And then the kit that I recommend that people get, the internal cleanse kit with a free colon cleanse it comes with, has in week 2 the parasite cleansing products. And oh my goodness, do they work? And when I first did this, I was a little smug about the parasite thing because I'd done so much and I felt like I just cleaned my body of so much. And I thought, oh, I don't have parasites. And it wasn't until about the end of that week that I saw the evidence of, oh, yes, I did. And some things have been dying off. And of course, if you see anything like that, then you're supposed to do more cleansing until you don't see anything anymore. So I did about 6 weeks of parasite cleansing, and I saw more and more and more. So we cannot say that we don't have them just because we don't see anything or necessarily think we feel anything. And it's amazing when you begin to get those things conquered, how you feel, and things that you thought, oh, well, every winter, maybe I will get a sinus infection. If I get a cold, it'll go into that. Not anymore. And we do not have to live with any of that. I am totally convinced of that.
I love it. I love that you're here to teach us that we don't have to suffer. We don't have to just be part of the status quo and take our drugs and suppress these symptoms, that we can heal our body through natural means. Now, I'd love for you to, I definitely want to get into those questions that I brought up at the beginning, but I'd love for you to first get into a bit of if you could share some of the science that you know to help people understand it's not just about squeezing liquid out of a beet and drinking it, that there's so much more to juicing in terms of what are the nutrients in juicing, and why is juicing different from just steaming a beet and eating it?
It's broken down. That's the big thing. I did a 3-part series interview series with Dr. Mercola a number of years ago, and he has been into juicing for quite a while, and I asked him what he thought, because he's kind of the go-to doctor of America, right, for for natural medicine. He said he found that with his patients it was so healing because it is broken down, because the fiber isn't there. That sounds like something that people would really oppose in this country. Everything's got to have fiber, fiber, fiber. But the juice is so effective because it doesn't have anything but the soluble fibers. So it can get right into the system. It can be therapeutic. It can be healing. It can begin to cleanse the body. It provides all those antioxidants. We get concentration of nutrients that we don't get by just eating it. And then, as I said before, a lot of people do not have the best digestive systems. I think that many of us have had problems because we didn't grow up on the best food. And all of the stuff that we ate as kids and young adults have really set us up for digestive issues in adulthood. And so for children and young adults and everybody else, juicing is fabulous for healing the gut and helping it repair and providing prebiotics, the substances that can become probiotics in the body. And it provides a cornucopia of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, phytonutrients, biophotons, those light rays of energy that the plants absorb from the sun. And anytime we cook anything, we lose that. And so here we have our fresh juices, beautiful and alive with biophotons. And biophotons feed the mitochondria of our cells, those little energy units that produce ATP, our energy fuel. And if we don't feed them, how are we going to get our energy fuel? So that's when, a lot of people say, wow, I'm just tired all the time. I'm just dragging around and I need more energy. And it's not an energy drink that's going to give it to you, or a Coke or a soda pop or a latte. None of that is going to give us lasting energy, but our juices will, and they are sustaining. And so it's all of the nutrients, and it's getting in also foods that we wouldn't normally eat. Like every morning, I juice a big chunk of fresh turmeric, a big chunk of fresh ginger. I juice a lemon, kale or chard, celery, and cucumber. I've gone all green these days because the greens are so rich in like magnesium and all the minerals and chlorophyll and the carotenes from the green category. On and on we could go about what they provide, but we just probably wouldn't eat, like I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't eat a chunk of ginger every day and a chunk of fresh turmeric. Big chunk, I'm talking about 2 to 3 inch chunk of fresh turmeric, which is an anti-inflammatory and a cancer fighter. And boy, I could go on and on about all of it does. I wouldn't eat a couple great big leaves of kale or chard every day. I wouldn't have a cucumber a day or 2 ribs of celery. I just know that. I wouldn't do that every single day, but I juice it every single day. And then I add in other things, whatever I might have available, a broccoli stem or asparagus stems. You can juice parts of veggies that you would normally throw away, so it's good economy as well. But what it's doing for your body is just amazing as far as the healing and rejuvenation and detoxification aspects of juice. It's, to me, the best food you can provide for your body. And maybe wheatgrass juice would be at the top of that list, but it's just bar none the best because your body can utilize it all.
I like that what you're doing is pointing out that we can use the food, food as medicine, but like the food, like herbs within the like almost like herbal medicine. You're bringing in that ginger, which so many health benefits of ginger, so many health benefits of turmeric. And I like to cook with curry because I want to get my turmeric in. I take a turmeric, supplement, and because I know, like what you say, it's amazing, the healing property. But nothing beats the real thing, right? Get that big turmeric root, and I've tried cooking with it. I can't do it, and so it's to be able to put it into a juice. Would you really be getting the nutrients from it? So I love that you're doing that. I know that in the past I've done cleanses with a lot of beet, and I totally overdid it. I didn't have really much guidance other than my naturopath at the time said, "Oh, your liver numbers are high. You should juice beets." And I thought, okay, great. I'm gonna go gung ho. And I started drinking like 5 to 6, 7 beets a day, giant, 28-ounce glasses of beet mixed with other stuff. But I think on about day 3, I thought I had food poisoning. And I really, for about a year, thought that event was food poisoning. I had all the symptoms of food poisoning. I had the chills. I had a fever. I had, cramps and nausea, and I was dizzy and practically hallucinating. I was like, I really bad what I thought was okay. I ate raw food. It was a raw beet. Maybe it wasn't washed well, and I got some food poisoning. And it wasn't until a year later that I found out that I way overdid it on the beets. My liver had a massive detox dump, and my body wasn't ready for it. And that what I was experiencing was like sort of dusting a room with the windows closed, and the dust kind of kicks up in the body, the toxins kick up, and there's nowhere for it to go. So you can really, if you don't get proper guidance around juicing, you can have a negative experience with it, maybe be turned off by it.
Yes. Well, and I've had many people that have been, they didn't have good recipes or didn't know what they were doing, put in way too much ginger, or like you say, way too many beets, and had a major detox reaction, or just a major mouth reaction. It tasted awful, some people have said. So you're right. It does take a little bit of guidance for a lot of us. And then we're on our way and feeling fabulous. That's what I love about guided tours of detox. When somebody's guiding you, and I guide, maybe hundreds, if not thousands, of people a year. It depends, and they do pretty well. I hear from them. I have Facebook coaching and teleconference calls every week, so they're doing pretty well. And if you ease yourself into it, you can handle it pretty well and get little bits of those toxins out at a time, and then you can handle it. But I've done that too with too many beets and too much beet juice, and wow, it really blows out the toxin. So it is effective, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the most common things that's going on is pain, chronic pain. And of course, there's inflammation, which a lot of people don't know. They're inflamed. After going gluten-free 6 years ago, my husband and I, we should look at our before and after driver's license photos, because we took our driver's license photo right before we went gluten-free. And my face was completely round. Like I was so puffy and so inflamed. I had no idea. And with just going gluten free, and I'm not saying 100% of the population needs to, but I've been kind of an advocate of going gluten free because I had such a great experience. I dropped 25 pounds of water weight just by dropping gluten from my diet, and that was the inflammation my body was holding on to. So inflammation, we're walking around all inflamed from our diet and from our lifestyle and our stress. And inflammation can either exacerbate or lead to pain. And so people are walking around with achy joints and back pain. And then of course now they're going to, so now they're inflamed. Maybe they have some toxins, their liver's backed up. And now they're starting to feel pain. They've got the headaches or they've got achy joints. And so then they go to the over-the-counter pain meds. And if and they're more, that causes that actually Advil, I heard recently, actually shuts down the body's natural anti-inflammatory response. So it sort of like helps in the short term, harms in the long term. And then you need more and more Advil to kind of keep up with chasing that suppression of the body. Or else it'll exacerbate once you get off of it. And then they might go take one step further, go to their doctor and get a prescription pain med. And now they've started on this more toxins, more inflammation, more suppression of the body symptoms. And so there's so many people now addicted to pain meds, and they don't want to be. They really don't want to be, but their body's addicted and they're caught in this vicious cycle. And we need to do is help them to bring down that inflammation, right? And so I'd love for you to share, do you have any, just off the top of your head, any stories of success of people who were either in pain or chronic pain that through your program they found success?
Oh, the stories are almost endless. A general story I'm going to start with that I hear so often is, oh my goodness, I woke up and all my pain is gone. So joint pain, knee pain, elbow pain. I've even had a number of people say my plantar fasciitis is gone. Struggled with it for years, special shoes and all these pain meds and all this stuff, and it's just gone. Arthritis. A lot of people get rid of arthritis. The most dramatic story I can tell was at our Juice and Raw Foods retreat. We have at least one a year. Sometimes we do more. We've done up to 4 a year. I had a lady that came in a wheelchair with rheumatoid arthritis, crippling rheumatoid arthritis, and she spent most of her time in bed. She her daughter drove her to our retreat, and she got there in a lot of pain. It was very difficult for her to drive that far. And she had a walker and a wheelchair. And it was a big struggle for her just to get in the classroom for our lectures with her walker. And she was in a lot of pain, even sitting through the lectures. But our raw foods retreat is 3 days of juice fasting, kicked off with raw foods at the beginning. And day 4, after my lecture, she said, "I want to show you something, Cherie," and she was smiling. She got up out of her wheelchair and walked like normal across the floor. She said, just about all of my pain is gone.
Wow. Were
She
other
got,
people around to like witness and just were people freaking out about that?
we went into the dining hall together. Oh, they came unglued. She walked in and people were crying and cheering and applauding because we've gotten close. Everyone gets very close at our retreats, and they knew the pain that she had suffered through for a number of days. And then to see her smiling and walking and nearly pain free, they came unglued to see miracles like that. And I've seen quite a few miracles. We had another lady that came to our retreat, the one before last, with 2 bulging discs in her back, bent over in a lot of pain. Her face just reflected that a lot. And I forget, it was the middle of the retreat. At some point, she was healed. Her it was spiritual and physical, but her disc went back into place and all her pain was gone. And just miraculous, and the stories just go on of what I've heard of people who thought they had to live and there was no hope. They had to live with this kind of pain. And when we get that inflammation down, it is amazing what happens. We had a lady too that came to one of our retreats, and she had a heart attack, and she was on medication and being monitored quite a bit by her physician. And she was a little nervous about coming to a juice and raw foods retreat and how would that affect her. She went back home. All her numbers were like in normal, perfect range. And her doctor said, "You are now my model patient. And what on earth did you do?" So she brought the inflammation down. The number one cause of heart disease is inflammation. And the markers for that are like histamine, C-reactive protein, LPA. Those are the things that we should be looking at, not cholesterol. Cholesterol, that's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with heart disease. And the Wynn Institute study in the UK studied that and found as many people die of heart disease with low cholesterol as with high, and there's no correlation at all, but there's a direct correlation with inflammation. So I have a book, The Anti-Inflammatory Diet, the Juice Lady's Anti-Inflammatory Diet, and I wrote it with a chef that's an anti-inflammatory chef.
Wow.
I know, isn't that cool? That's what the kinds of food she prepares in her cooking school also. And I did that because so many people would ask me, "Well, what's an anti-inflammatory diet?" And you just nailed one of the big culprits: gluten. Get off all gluten. And dairy is another big one for a lot of people. And sugar is probably the number one cause of inflammation. And then coffee is very acidic, so that makes it inflammatory. And soda pop, sports drinks, all this stuff, that our lattes, all the things that we love are really contributing to our inflammation. And the things that are anti-inflammatory or bring alkaline balance to our body are our fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts and sprouts. And those are not the dominant foods of the American diet or the Canadian diet, like you mentioned, or the Western world. It's not, those are not dominant. But as we begin to bring those more into the majority of our diet, we notice that the inflammation goes away, which is so exciting.
That is very exciting. Is there any country in which those are the dominant foods?
Well, some of the Middle Eastern foods, even though they have animal protein, they have a lot of vegetables. You know, the Middle Eastern foods, they do a lot of things with hummus and vegetables, baba ganoush, the eggplant, um, and beans, more with the beans and things, and
Ah,
different vegetables. So when I was over, like you mentioned, the royal family of UAE, and I was in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and I actually went to one of their homes for a dinner, a spread. It was beautiful. There were lots of vegetables and olives and hummus and baba ganoush and olive oil, and there was some lamb, and there was a little yogurt and cheese, but it was a very healthful dinner, with all the vegetables there.
that's so cool. What was the royal family's favorite juice recipe that you taught them?
Oh, I think they like the one with the carrot apple base. So that has a little more sugar, but for people that can handle a little more, and then lots of greens added to it. So I did a carrot apple with some ginger and added cucumber to that, and spinach and celery, and I can't remember if I had what dark leafy green I had there, but I think that was their favorite.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are interested, I imagine many of my listeners have juice at some point in their life, but I'm sure we also have some virgin juicers here. For those who want to get started, what is the best juicer? We actually have four options. My understanding is there's four. So we've got the masticating juicer, the one that spins it around, so they're like the centrifugal juicer,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
We have one that's like a $6,000, the pressure juicer. I don't know what it's called. I just call it the pressure juicer. It's one that
Or
it
cold
like
press.
it. Sorry,
Cold press.
cold press. Thank you. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then the Vitamix. So what is there any other options, and what do you feel is the best one?
Those are the options, and the Ninja would fall in with the Vitamix of being like a blender type, where everything's in one container. Um, the very best, without a doubt, for preservation of the nutrients is the cold press, or masticating would come next, and then the centrifugal. However, I want to say to everyone listening, the best juicer for you is the one you're going to use every day.
Thank you.
Uh,
I've tried everything. Well, except for the cold press because it was like it's like $6,000 and I'm just keeping my eye out for a used one. But my thing is like I keep hearing that one's better than the other, but if you're not going to use it cuz you have to, oh, that one is too slow or you have to clean it too much or whatever, then you're not going to use it. So it's the best one is the one you're going to use because it doesn't matter whether you get 5% more nutrition. You're going to get zero more nutrition if you don't use it.
you just nailed it. And that is exactly what I teach. And I do not use the best juicer on the market as far as getting out every nutrient and preserving every enzyme. I use a centrifugal juicer that's fast to use and fast to clean. And that's my life and my lifestyle. I'm just very busy. And so many people are in the same category as me. So if you end up with a juicer that's doing so well, giving you all of these enzymes and nutrients and preserving your vitamins and your enzymes and in your biophotons, but it takes you 15 minutes to clean it, and maybe it takes you an extra 10 minutes to make your juice over a centrifugal, you just what you said, you're not going to use it. Maybe once in a while you might pull it out on a weekend day, but you are not going to use your juicer. And my point is, let's get something, just like you said, maybe we've lost 5 or 10%. Even if we lost 20%, you're going to end up with 80% more than you would have any other way. And that's the best juicer on earth for you.
Awesome. Now, I want to talk about juicing versus like smoothies versus protein shakes. Cuz maybe we're a bit confused. You know, you think a lot I think there's a lot of people that might think that smoothies and juicing are the same thing. You know, I can put a bunch of fruit in a Vitamix and there's my juice. But really what I'm getting is like a bunch of fruit, right? I'm not getting, isn't the point of juicing to be more vegetable based, or can you kind of break down the difference between juicing, smoothie and protein shake? And you know, do you ever tell people to do smoothies or protein shakes, or is it primarily juicing 100% of the time?
Oh, all of the above. I do oftentimes juice and a smoothie, but I make the smoothie with part of the juice that I made for the day, and then put in an avocado. And you can add to that some protein powder if you want. I know that there are people who um, swear by their fruit smoothies every day. They have berries and banana and maybe some almond milk or coconut milk and protein powder, and they call that good. But where are the veggies? And I'm all about getting the greens in. You can do green smoothies, but it seems like for the smoothies, people seem to need to add a lot of fruit. And whereas with the juice and lemon or lime, you don't need as much, or I don't use any fruit except for lemon. And it seems to do the trick for me. But there are the blender types like the Ninja or the Vitamix, and that keeps everything in the same container. And people have tried my recipes many times that are just vegetables and said it's pretty fibrous, kind of mushy. They had to strain it or squeeze out the juice from it to make it palatable. And to make it palatable without doing that, they had to add a lot of fruit, and they couldn't get as many vegetables in. So we can eat a piece of fruit a day. Most people are getting plenty of fruit. They're not getting enough vegetables, and it's the vegetables I'm after. I've also worked with people who were getting too much sugar actually from their smoothie concoctions. And anytime you're blending something up, it's really a smoothie. It's not a juice. But there are manufacturers who call it juice, because they're jumping on the juicing bandwagon, the popularity of that. And so they're calling their blended concoctions juice. I'm coming out with a new book in September called Souping, and that's a
Oh, cool.
trendy new word for what's done in the Vitamix or the Ninja, where you just
Yes.
blend it up, and souping is the new word for that. So that's fine, and I do that, and I've got recipes for that, but there is nothing on earth to replace juice, as I have seen it in working with people. So we can do some smoothies, but I say get your juice in too.
Nice.
Start your day with your juice. And then if you want to go to a smoothie, you can do that.
Awesome. Now, day to day, should people be juicing like how many? Like, can we just do breakfast, or I know there's detoxes or cleanses where you're gonna juice like all the time, but on a day when you're on like maintenance, or you just you just want to live your life and also incorporate juicing, is it best to just do one a day, two a day, do it for snacks? What do you recommend?
Oh, any and all of that. I start my day for my husband and I with a big glass of green juice. And there are many days where that's it. I just don't get any more made. There are some days where I do make another juice mid morning or around lunch or maybe before dinner. And that's great too. So it's a great pick me up if you're like tired, kind of wearing out mid morning or mid afternoon. Juice is a great pick me up and energizer. If you can do that or take it to work, you can freeze juice, by the way. You can make a big batch the night before and freeze it in individual jars. Don't fill it all the way to the top, they'll burst in the freezer. But you can pull them out in the morning and have juice for breakfast and maybe take one to work with you. It's fine to freeze it. It's fine to store it. You lose a little, but just like we were saying before, it's better than anything else you could have, and you've still got a lot there. So make it work for you. And at least if you start your day with a big glass of juice, it's energizing and it begins to give your body the rejuvenating nutrients it needs to get started. So I call it the kickstart for the day.
Awesome. Wonderful. Now, you have some I mean, you have 33 books. You also have your online program. So you have some wonderful books. I know that anytime we publish an episode on either thyroid like Hashimoto's, or we publish an episode on weight loss, when we publish an episode on adrenal fatigue and on pain, we get a huge spike in downloads. So those are really four, and you've got books on all of those.
I do.
That's really cool. Could you share some from those four categories? Could you share some information from your books? Any guidance, recipes, advice that you could give us?
Yes. Oh, I'm happy to do that. So the Juice Ladies Remedies for thyroid disorders. I have lots of remedies in there in that book. One thing that I'll just mention right away, people avoid, many people with thyroid issues, low thyroid, avoid all cruciferous vegetables. But there's one that is healing for the thyroid, watercress. And watercress juice, or water, just eating the watercress, or watercress juice powder, which is a main ingredient in my Juice Ladies powder, Garden's Best juice powder. Watercress is very, very healing for the thyroid. So juice up watercress and combine it with something like cucumber. You could put in a little carrot if the sugars don't bother you. A little bit of green apple, ginger would be great. And that would be a wonderful juice for your thyroid. And then along with detoxing and getting the fluoride and chlorine out of your diet, getting iodine into your diet, and that is so important. I put a drop of liquid iodine, Lugol's liquid iodine, into my juice every morning. And that is very, very helpful for the thyroid gland. And I cook with coconut oil. And I've had many people say when they started adding coconut oil into their diet, that they had lots of improvement with thyroid. And I even had some people that had to get off their medication because they didn't need it anymore and it was too much. So very exciting. I could go on, but there's a lot in the Juice Ladies Remedies for thyroid disorders. And then my other book, the Juice Ladies Remedies for stress and adrenal fatigue. I have walked that journey more than once, and a number of times in my life. I've had severe adrenal fatigue. You can absolutely heal that. And juicing is a big part. Again, juicing a lot of greens. Magnesium is very, very helpful. And all of the different herbs like ashwagandha. I have a Vitality Renew supplement that I sell partnered with that book, and it's been very helpful for a lot of people with all of the herbs that help the thyroid. And getting off sweets has been very, very helpful for many people for healing the thyroid, and getting off gluten. Also, that's very important for people with thyroid disorders. Thyroid and adrenal both seem to respond well to getting off the gluten and off of all sugars. And that's where the anti-inflammatory diet comes in. That diet is helpful for those conditions and for pain. And what was the fourth one you said?
Weight loss.
Oh, well, of course. And my turbo diet there has been huge success with my book, The Turbo Diet, and kicking off with a 3-day vegetable juice fast, and then going on a weight loss program of making one meal a day a fresh juice. That has been very, very helpful, and so many people have lost weight. I also have a 28-day online program, Juicing for Weight Loss, that many people join, and lots of lessons and recipes and Juicing has definitely helped people lose weight, and here's why. There's so many reasons why juicing helps. It's alkaline, and most of us are a little bit too acidic because of the diet. Grains, dairy, meat, sweets, coffee, alcohol, black tea, sports drinks, junk food, all of this stuff, in its final breakdown is acidic. And the juices are alkaline. The fruits and vegetables are alkaline. So it begins to bring a balance. And then when we're getting more of that balance and the alkaline juices in our diet, the body says, okay, I can let go of some of these fat cells because they're storing the acid, or I can let go of the acids because there's plenty of buffer from the juices, the high mineral juices, giving a lot of buffer. And so people just start losing weight effortlessly. I have so many pictures up on my website of the before and after pictures of people who've lost weight. And not only just lost weight, but looked younger. And like you said, gotten rid of puffiness in the face. A lot of water weight just goes away when we get off of the foods that were causing that inflammation. There are a couple of other reasons. Cravings go away. So many people have said to me, I got on the juices and my chocolate craving went away. Oftentimes, our chocolate craving is because we're lacking magnesium, and it does have magnesium. But how much better to get our magnesium from our greens? And so, when we start juicing all of the greens, sweet cravings go away. Salt cravings may diminish because our adrenals are getting stronger. And oftentimes we crave a lot of salt when our adrenals are very weak. And so when the cravings start diminishing, and those munchy cravings, like after you eat dinner, a couple hours later, you want something, and you think you want something sweet, and you really don't, but your body is still needing some nutrients to make reactions happen. And so when we get all those wonderful juices, all of those nutrients are getting right into our system and cravings go away. So it makes it a lot easier for people to just avoid the more fattening things and not have snacks at night and things like that. And then also toxins. Toxins are in a similar category to the acids. And when we get the toxins out of our cells, the fat cells start releasing toxins because there's plenty of antioxidants. That's when also weight loss becomes so much easier and people just effortlessly lose weight. It also, many people have said that the juices help them become more regular. And I have seen over and over, when people are constipated, they do not lose weight easily. In fact, they may even gain weight. But the soluble fibers of the juices have been very, very helpful for a lot of people. And getting extra magnesium and vitamin C in their diet really helps with that constipation as well. And then also people have said they're sleeping better. And when we don't sleep well, several things happen. For one, the hormones that get out of whack, the ones that cause us to have the munchies go high, and the ones that cause a control of our appetite are lowered, and then we just want to eat and eat and eat carbs, not salads and salmon, like the studies say. We want carbs. And so when we start sleeping better and our hormones, like even the growth hormone and insulin and leptin and ghrelin, all come into better balance, we're not as hungry. And then it's much easier to lose weight when you're not just feeling like you've got to munch on something a lot of the time. So all of those things come into play. And then also when your adrenals are better balanced because you've got more good nutrition, you sleep better. A lot of people are not sleeping well because their adrenals are all out of whack and they're pumping cortisol out in the middle of the night, or they don't stop with the cortisol when they're trying to go to sleep, and that brain keeps going and chattering away. So once the adrenals become better balanced and people have more energy and they sleep better at night, weight loss again becomes easier. So for all of those reasons, juicing helps on every single issue.
Wonderful. It's like nutrify the body and the body can heal itself. And I love that you laid that out for us. I hope some listeners heard some things that they can, they're left empowered, that they know they can heal their body. After you mentioned those conditions, maybe we have some listeners that are going, wait, that sounds like me. I should
Yeah,
start juicing. What about
yeah.
kids? You know, I have a 2-year-old now, so I'm starting to become more and more aware of the other kids around him, and like I mentioned, gluten face. I can see it in adults. Like my husband, I used to play this game after we went gluten free and saw how miraculous it made us feel and how much it changed our body just by dropping the inflammation, dropping the water weight. We started to look around. We call it gluten face. We can see, like in Costco, when people are walking out with their carts, we could see their face before we looked in the cart, and we could see that their face and their, like, whether they're, maybe they're gray skin, no circulation, totally poofy, maybe dark circles under the eyes, versus really like their face is almost slender, and then we'd look down and see that in their cart is either a load of gluten or a load of vegetables, like organic vegetables. And we could see that what was in their cart was reflective of what their face and their skin and their eyes, even like those who would fill their carts with junk food, didn't have a light in their eyes. And I can see this in the children now that my son plays with. Some of these kids, these poor kids, have rashes in their cheeks are permanently rosy. Their eyes are kind of dead. They have no light in their eyes. They're sort of a grayness to their skin almost, and they just seem lethargic and not really communicative. And then I see that the parents are feeding them goldfish crackers and macaroni and cheese and hot dogs, and there's not one fruit or vegetable in sight. And I'm really sad that I see these kids, also these poor children, and they don't have a choice. You know, this is their food. It's like being a prisoner, right? When you're in
Yes.
prison, you get what you get. When you're a child, you get what you get. And it's not their fault that there's the childhood obesity and childhood diabetes is on the rise. It's not the child's fault. You know, we have to look to what we're feeding them. And of course, as a parent, I'm not blaming parents, because they were taught what they were taught, and it goes on, generation after generation. And maybe they weren't taught by their grandparents, and so they just were taught by the commercials, like, oh, McDonald's is easy and there's a play area, so I'm going to get some relief from my hyper kid, feed him some fries and let him go play on the slide in McDonald's. And that's what a lot of kids are right now going through. But childhood cancer, diabetes, allergies are on the rise, and even childhood surgeries where they're putting plugs in their ears, but the parents are taking the adenoids out and the tonsils out and putting plugs in the children's ears at a very young age, instead of realizing that dairy is the number one cause of ear infections in children.
Yes.
And it's mind-blowing that is proven, and yet not, because it profits the hospital, it profits the doctor's office more to have procedures done than to give dietary advice.
Absolutely. It just breaks my heart. And there's no little to any money being made from dietary advice. So you're right. That's why they don't do it. And the pharmaceutical companies make sure of that. They provide the textbooks for the registered dietitians and the doctors. And there's very little on nutrition in those books. So we're just kind of stuck with the doctors telling everybody, oh, diet had nothing to do with this condition that your child is facing, and they just need the drugs or the procedures, like you were saying. There is so much that can be done for children. I've had so many moms tell me that when they got the whole family on juicing, that they did not suffer from winter colds, flus, coughs. ear infections. And of course, when you get started in the juice, it's because you've read, I mean, and you come to me, it's because you've read one of my books, and I always address the diet too. So I try to, in every book, talk about gluten and dairy and sugar and getting everybody off of all of that too. So when you add in the wonderful, beautiful juices and you get rid of those three major things that are big contributors, and soy I would add into that list. Sorry, I have a train going by.
No, I love it. It sounds great.
It's kind of fun, actually. It's like rural America. Um, but anyway, when you get everybody off of all of that stuff, health just really changes. And you're right, it's so heartbreaking to see these little kids who should have sparkly, shiny eyes and beautiful skin because they're so young, and yet they don't. And they have rashes, like you say. I was just looking at this cute little girl Sunday who had rash all over the back of her head, all these bright red rash spots, and did not have shiny sparkly eyes. And so many kids today don't, and they can. And what is wonderful about it, when moms get truth and start doing all of these good things, their children change so fast
Hmm.
because their little bodies can respond so much faster than adults. It takes us a while. We respond too, and people start changing even within days. But little kids change so fast, and they just come alive quickly. And the other thing that I see so often, the hyperactivity goes away when you get the sugar and all the dyes and all of that stuff out, and the gluten. The hyperactivity, the ADD, the ADHD go away. And here's another very interesting thing. When I was over in the UAE, one of the ladies of the royal family, they had a huge party, and there were about 70 of them that came, along with about 30 ambassadors' wives. But anyway, one of the ladies of the family said she'd been in America, learned about juicing, got their grandson, who had autism, on the juices every morning. And she said one day her daughter took him to school. He went to special school, and they said, he doesn't belong here anymore. You need to take him now to normal school because he's normal.
Wonderful. I love that. I've heard from other experts that through detoxing, through nutrition, through food, through changing what we're putting in our body, the fuel that we're putting in our body has had that impact where they were on this autistic spectrum and then all of a sudden they weren't on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
And maybe they didn't have autism in the first place. We don't know. Maybe did it cure autism, or maybe this wasn't autism. Maybe
Yes.
a lot, back many years ago, they used to douse children in DDT, which
Oh,
was basically a poison to get rid of bugs, right? And there's, if you Google, DDT children, there's black and white photos of children in the street being doused with this white powder, and they're dancing and laughing and throwing it at each other. And yet it is it's a completely toxic substance that causes paralysis.
oh,
And so back then they thought an epidemic of polio was happening. And of course then they brought in more and more polio vaccine, and that's a lot of times we'll say, well, look, the vaccines got rid of it because the polio stopped, but that's when they stopped dousing children with DDT.
oh,
And so this,
crazy.
did they have polio? Many children were diagnosed with polio because they had all the symptoms. If you have all the symptoms of a disease, then don't you have the disease? That's how we think, right? Because
Yeah.
disease is man-made. We take a bunch of symptoms and put it in give it a label and say if it quacks like a duck and it flies like a duck, then it's a duck. And so a lot of children who are having the symptoms of this neurosuppression of autism as young children are told they're on the spectrum, and they might not actually have autism. They might have something like overtoxicity, undernutrition. Iodine deficiency causes the IQ to go down by 15 points. I'm not saying that someone who's autistic is a low IQ. I'm not calling them a name like stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying that if if a child has 15 points less on the IQ spectrum just because of one deficiency, iodine, then imagine a child who's grown up on fast food where there's such a void of nutrition that their body is starving, is screaming, their brain is starving.
Yeah.
And how could they develop? How can we ask them to think and sit still in a classroom when every cell of their body is crying out for nutrition, and all we're filling them with is empty calories and toxins? It just breaks my heart that this should be illegal. It should be considered child abuse to not nourish children with whole foods, with real fuel that the body needs. So don't get me started on that one. I could go on forever. Now, how do you get kids to like juice? So like my son, if I make a juice look pretty, he'll love it. But if I make it look dark green, he kind of goes, no. I hand it to him. I've had him successfully drink juice and smoothies, and he eats broccoli, he eats kale, he loves raw vegetables. But if it's a green drink, he just kind of turns his nose up at it, because it probably looks kind of murky and weird. And so how do you get kids to like, is there any recipes, or, do you put something in it to make it look pretty, or what do you do? How do you get them on the juice bandwagon?
Yes, I've juiced for groups of kids before. It does have to look pretty, and color is so important to children. And you're right, that greenish or greenish brown. Wow, that's a really bad one for them. So what I have to do is put quite a few carrots in. Orange, they seem to like the color orange. I don't know if your son likes orange looking things, but the group I worked with, they all liked orange color. So then I would do carrot apple. And to that, I would add a little bit of spinach or some celery, maybe a little bit of broccoli stem, things like that, but not too much to overwhelm the color. And I also judged, they seemed to like red. So juices that I made where I put a little bit of beet just to color it, they went for the red, but not the green, like you said. They didn't want the green.
Do you ever hear kids like, once you get them with the reds, it's like, like a drug dealer, okay, I'm going to get you hooked. I'm going to get your fix, right? Get them hooked on the reds and the oranges, and maybe then we can like transition them into the greens. Have you ever heard of children getting more into it, more excited about it, and more accepting as they begin to enjoy it?
I think the older ones, when they come to an understanding, they could have greens with some apple in it and it would be okay, green color. But little kids, I think you just have to keep it looking pretty, orange and red, colors that they like to look at, and they think, oh, that looks pretty, that looks good.
Well,
And it has to taste good.
yeah, right. And those would taste good. And hey, that you're still getting vegetables into them, so I'm happy. Wonderful. Now, what about diabetes? Do you have any stories of success of reversing diabetes naturally using juicing and shifting to a more whole foods diet?
I do. I've worked with a number of people who've been able to get off all medication with juicing. I even heard from one person with type 1 diabetes, couldn't get off of all medication, but was able to cut down on the amount of medication. And I have a number of people. I have a book, Remedies for Diabetes, the Juice Ladies Remedies. I've had quite a few people actually say they control their diabetes now with diet and juicing. And with diabetes, you can't do very much fruit. You have to do mostly vegetables and keep your carrot low and your beets low because those are high in sugar. You can do a little bit of green apple. You can maybe have a little bit of berries, but mostly greens would be your juices, and cut the sugars out of your diet and the gluten and dairy. And people have done extremely well and have been able to control it and control it just with diet alone. So there's great hope for people, especially with type 2, but also with type 1. Great improvements can be made. You may not be able to get off of all of your medication, but you can greatly improve your health and how much maybe you have to take.
I love that. I love that because, diabetics have been told over and over again what their life's going to look like if they don't get their blood sugar and their insulin levels under control. They could, later on lose their eyesight, lose their digits, then lose their limbs, and it's scary. It's very scary for them, but it's equally scary when they can't get their blood sugar under control under the advisement of their dietitian and doctor, and
Yes.
yet they're put on more and more medication. It's really scary what some dietitians are teaching these days. I went to one during my doctor advised me to go to a dietitian, which I thought was really funny, when I was pregnant, and she proceeded to tell me how much yogurt I could eat and how much what I could eat at McDonald's. And after I told her I eat organic whole foods diet, I'm gluten and dairy free, and I eat this much vegetables, and I told her everything, and then she's like, okay, well, so you can actually have this many hamburgers at McDonald's. So, and she started to lay out this whole picture. It was this pamphlet with all sort of pictures of the foods I could eat to make sure I get all my protein and carbs. And when she found out I ate less than 80 grams of carbs a day, she's like, no, that's too little. You need more. And I was just like, she's a dietitian in the hospital for diabetics, and she's telling diabetics to eat, here's what you can eat at McDonald's. And
Oh,
I just could not believe it. I thought I was in like crazy land, and I was telling her, my reasoning why I'm eating more complex carbohydrates and why I avoid sugar. And I just thought that was really funny. So, I mean, that was my one example of dietitians when it comes to controlling blood sugar. Because I had, higher blood sugar from the placenta, right? And so looking to make sure I was having the healthiest pregnancy. It's just really funny that, this is what the health industry is, right? Is telling us here, well, you can eat 2 burgers at McDonald's, and you can eat this salad at McDonald's. And I'm thinking, well, I could drink a gallon of pesticides, but I don't want to.
right. You could.
Yeah. And that's probably not going to be very helpful. So I'm really glad that you have such great success helping people reverse or control their blood sugar through this. Now, what about the quality of food? So, of course, depending on what state you're in, whether you have access to locally grown organic, or you have access to a local farm, or whether you have a farmer's market, but most people don't. Most people have just their generic grocery store. So what kind of guidance do you give people in terms of the quality? Is there really more nutrition in locally sourced organic, or can we buy anything?
Oh, there's much more nutrition in local organics than even trucked around organics, But there are many times that's our only choice. But summer is a great time to go to the farmers markets and get your fresh organic produce there. You can talk with the farmers. Some of them can't label their produce organic because they can't afford to get certified organic, but they can tell you how it's grown and grown without chemicals and with composting that makes it much more nutritious. And but if you just have your normal grocery store and that's all you've got, most grocery stores today have an organic section. Where we live, it's very interesting. All of the grocery stores in our area have a nice organic section. It's becoming more popular, and so they want to sell what people want. And so you don't always just have to go to a place like Whole Foods or a little specialty health market, but you can go to your local grocery store now and find a lot of things that you couldn't find before. So I really encourage people to look around, and stores like Trader Joe's are carrying more and more organics, and even some of the big box stores. Now you can get organic apples, organic carrots. I've even seen organic celery there. So it's becoming much more encouraging than it used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I first started gluten-free, there was almost no gluten-free foods, and now it's everywhere, and every major company's jumping on the bandwagon because they realize that this isn't just a flash in the pan fad, that this is here to stay. But we got to be careful, make sure that you do your due diligence. Put as much research as you do into your car or into the baby seat that you're buying, as you would into where your food comes from. I've heard even stories of organic food, and I don't mean to scare anyone, but organic food being trucked in trucks, and the trucks were sprayed with chemicals, like pesticides or whatever the chemical they sprayed it with, and then filled the truck up with the
Yeah.
organic food. And one of the naturopaths I've interviewed told me off air about how she was dealing with a woman who had this horrible reaction, horrible toxicity, and they investigated. They became like detectives and traced back what she had eaten to find out she was poisoned with. There was a market, almost like a organic market, where every night when they take the food away, they spray and douse and wash the all the tables, the wooden tables they lay out the food on,
Oh,
with a chemical, and that had poisoned her. And so these people were thinking they were doing good because they're cleansing the area and killing the pests and whatever they meant to do with those chemicals, but those chemicals got into the food because the food every day sits on those tables. So,
wow.
we got to be careful when it comes to where our food's coming from if we can. But organic better and local better. I totally agree with you. So we got to just put a little bit of work into finding where to get it from. And I love it when we can connect with farms and buy it straight from the farm. There's more and more farms, like you said, who they can't afford the certification, but they're smaller farms, and they if you get to know them and you see their process, they don't use chemicals. You can even if you buy meat, you can even buy meat that is locally raised, organic, grass-fed, straight from the person who raised the animals, and or the eggs. You can get them locally sourced. You get to know the farm, and then you know where your food's coming from. So just like more about your car before you buy it, know more about your food. That was a big wake up call for me, because I was blindly trusting anything in the grocery store, and my health was deteriorating. So when I began to become more of an advocate for my own nutrition, it was amazing. It was almost a day and night experience of my health improving. So that's my that's my little soapbox about organic. Now, one last thing I want to ask is, a lot of people are afraid they're going to be hungry when they go on juice fasts, and I think it's a big fear. I think a lot of people, because they're so undernutrified, they don't realize that they have pica or cribbing. A lot of us are hungry all the time. Maybe our blood sugar's out of control. Maybe we're just really minerally starved, but we're hungry all the time. And so we can't even imagine going on a juice fast when we're already hungry. Hey, I need my 4 eggs in the morning. I need my sausage. I need my steak. I need my chicken. You're going to take all that away from me, and I'm just going to be drinking some pansy juice. Like, how's that going to keep me full and full of energy? And so I know a lot of people are kind of afraid. So what do you say to those people who really want the health benefits, but are really afraid of being hungry?
Well, I would say I do a 5-day juice fast every month too. I kick off the first Monday of every month. So yesterday was our 5-day juice fast kickoff. And I haven't lost anybody yet. And nobody's died of starvation. I've had a few people who've said they were really hungry. If you get just so starved that you can't stand it, eat an avocado. That will slow down your detoxification, but it will be a good thing to have if you just can't stand it. So I had a lady today who did have an avocado because she said she couldn't stand it anymore. But most of the people do fine. And a lot of people have said they were surprised that they weren't hungry. I had one lady say, "Do I have to drink all these juices? I just feel so full." I said, "No, you don't have to. Of course not." So we do what we need to do. Our bodies will tell us what it wants. A lot of times, though, I've found, and it was true for me for a number of years when I did juice fasting, I would feel just starved, but I would, white knuckle it through and do it. I had parasites, and I didn't realize that those parasites were making me so hungry. Just, I could have pulled wallpaper off the wall and chewed on it, or bark off the tree. And so do a parasite cleanse if that is something that you notice that you're just, like famished. The juices are so satisfying for so many people because they're getting nutrients their body hasn't been getting in a long time. And it's sending a signal to the brain that they're satisfied, that their body's got just what it needs to complete the reactions it needs to complete. And so they do well, very well. We're all different, but there are always things you can do. If, like I say, you can have an avocado or you can do a green smoothie if you're just feeling really famished. But most people are able to do a juice fast. In our retreats, we do 3 days of juice fasting, and most of the people just get through that quite well. I let them at our retreats have a little kale chip snack in the afternoons that we make at the retreat center. But it's not hard. So give it a try. Even if you do a 1 day to get started, give it a try because you'll just see how much better you feel.
Wonderful. Great advice. Now, you've been talking about these retreats and they sound like heavenly vacations to me. I'm such a health geek. Like, I don't think about going to Hawaii or something. I think about going on like juicing fast retreats. That's what's interesting to me. Oh man. So tell us about your website, about your books, about your healing retreats. How can our listeners continue to learn from you and implement these wonderful ways to detox?
Well, come to my website, sign up for my free newsletter because you'll get 2 a week with recipes, juice recipes usually, or other recipes, lots of information. And it's at Juice Lady Info, INFO. So juiceladyinfo.com is the easiest one. Juice Lady Cherie goes to the same place, and Cherie Calbom, they all go.com, go to the same place. But Juice Lady Info is the easiest one to remember and spell. And there you'll find all my books and programs. And I have every month, I offer 5-day juice fast, the mini cleanse, which is 7 days of colon cleanse, the 28-day juicing for weight loss program, and the 30-day detox, which is 4 weeks of every organ in your cleansing, elimination organ and supportive organ of your body is addressed, from colon to liver and gallbladder, and parasite in week 2. And then week 3 is kidney and bladder and lungs. And week 4 is lymphatic system and skin and blood. So we go through the whole body, and it is a wonderful program. And you can also sign up for nutrition counseling there. A lot going on. So you got to come visit me. JuiceLadyInfo.com.
Awesome. Yes, and the link to Juice Lady Info will also be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntoyourhealth.com. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. Just love the work you're doing. Please come back on the show when you have a new program, a new book. I know you're going to have many more. You've written 33 books. You're going to write many more. I know that. And you're welcome to come back on the show anytime you are promoting a book or a program. And I hope to one day take a nice vacation and go on one of your retreats, because that sounds heavenly. Where are your retreats, by the way?
Well, so far they've been in Spokane, Washington, at Immaculate Heart Retreat Center. And I don't know where they'll be, where we'll add in the future. But people have asked for a warmer climate, so in the winter, where they can get some sun. So we'll see if we can find something for winter months where people can come.
Very good. Well, my vote is always Hawaii, but I'll settle for Spokane because I could just drive there. I'm
Good.
just on the other side of the mountains from you.
I know. Not a bad drive.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Cherie. It's been a pleasure having you, and I'm going to dust off my juicer after today's show. So
Good.
I'll be cheersing you tonight with something with ginger and something with greens in it, and then I've got to figure out something orange for my son.
There you go. Pull out the carrots.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn to Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Or join our membership, learntruehealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to learntruehealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to learntruehealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. learntruehealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, and you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to learntruehealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.